Good morning, everyone. Tim Anderson here, aka Renfill. It is 5 o'clock in the morning on January 18th, 2021. This is the second episode of Monday Musings. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this show. Last week was kind of a one off. I just sat down and wanted to talk about life and some stuff to people and, excuse me, what was going on in the world. And I decided that well, let's just do it again this Monday and see where it goes from here. Over the past couple of years, I've had this YouTube channel, and it's mostly been a place where I've just thrown stuff, just dabbled. Um, like originally, when I first started the show, channel, I should say, I was doing like some retro game stuff, just to sit down and showcase some of the really old games that I used to play when I was growing up. Like the Quest for Glory games, the King's Quest games. Betrayal at Krondor, The Dig, which was a great game that Steven Spielberg was behind, that kind of stuff. And then over the years, I went ahead and put in the uh, Diaries of an Indie Game Dev as I was working on the Saga of Lucemia MMORPG. And then that led to the Mondays in MMORPG podcast slash vodcast. And then as time evolved, at the end of this last year, I decided to start streaming games, which is something I probably should have started doing, 10 years ago, because I've played games every day since probably the mid 80s growing up. Um, and even though I've always played games, I mean, the idea of being a streamer has never really appealed to me per se. Um, I don't I don't have that personality to stream all the time. Um, I don't think there's any. It's just not for me. I'm not a big fan of sitting here and playing for like. I see some people who do it. They do like 24-hour sessions or 12-hour sessions, and I know that that's, for them that's how they make their living, and that's great. But that's just I don't. At least where I'm at in my life right now, it's never appealed to me. But I do like getting on and playing games every day for a few hours. 2, 3 hours is usually about my cutoff point. Um, and I said I wanted to start sharing some of that stuff. I don't stream all the games I play, but I did start streaming kind of regularly in August of last year. And just the channel has kind of evolved since then. And now the channel is a combination of I'm playing Lord of the Rings online pretty regularly, Mondays and Thursday nights with my brother um, at 8 p.m. Central. And then I have the Lotro Cooking in Real Life series that comes out once a week, usually on Mondays until I decided I might be changing schedules if I'm going to be doing this Monday Musings show. I just recorded the most recent episode, I want to say on Thursday of last week or Friday of last week. It's the Superior Honorian Feast, so that'll be coming out this week. So for those of you who like the Lotro Cooking in Real Life series, tune into that. I'm also doing a read through now of Bloody Knuckles, which is a science fiction and fantasy anthology. And of course, I also have uh, Echoes of the Past, which is book one of the Saga of Lucemia. I'm doing read throughs of that. And I figured, what the hell? In between that and playing a little bit of Cyberpunk, a little bit of, you know, Assassin's Creed Valhalla on the PS4, other games, I like RPGs. So I've been doing some. I was doing some Divinity Original Sin 2 and Pillars of Eternity 2. Um, I've also got the Patreon that I'm working on as well. So I mean, I've been kind of doing a lot of things, and this is in between the work that I do to make a living, um, which is stuff that I don't often talk about on this channel because this channel is sort of my outlet for the stuff that I do creatively, um, which is not necessarily how I make a full-time living. So this is kind of my resource outlet to just talk about things. And so I figured it'd be kind of interesting to talk about stuff above and beyond gaming and science fiction and fantasy and stuff. And the inside of my cup is green. Renfell in my beard. Coffee. So last week's episode was a little political, just talking about the real world, COVID, and everything else. Saturday was my birthday, um, January 16th, and I turned 41 this year. For a long time, up until I met Chris, we started dating in early 2011. Um, Before I met Chris, the tradition for my birthday was always that was the one time of the year where I would treat myself to a really expensive restaurant. I would usually go out and spend $500 to $1,000 on a really nice meal, a few $100s on a bottle of wine, a few $100s on a meal and stuff. Um, and that kind of evolved into Chris and I doing um, just really big home cooked meals on birthdays. Um, and I mean big meals, like enough food for 6 or 8 people, and there's only two of us. And that's a tradition we've kind of stuck to um, for the most part every year. This year was the first time I kind of branched off from that. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and I had a craving, so I filled that craving. I made a big ass oven baked pizza and proceeded to nom on that thing all day long. Got a nice bottle of Scotch whiskey, and we proceeded to binge watch the most recent series of Outlander, um, most recent season, I should say, which was it aired at the beginning of 2020, but we were because of the craziness that was COVID and everything, we never got around to watching it until um, just now. So we finally put that behind us over the weekend, and the reason I got into that show, this will be a spinoff here. Um, the only reason I even got into that show because I'd never read the books, um, and they are from a from a purely analytical standpoint. Outlander is definitely a romance show more than anything else. It's about the romantic relationship between the two characters. And I know the books are billed as like a historical fiction slash, fantasy slash romance, historical romance type novels. But they do have that science fiction aspect in that there's time travel involved. But again, I'd never read the books. The only reason I got involved was because Ronald D. Moore was involved. And for those of you who aren't familiar who Ron D. Moore is, he was the mastermind behind the Battlestar Galactica Reimagined series that aired in the early 2000s. And if you go back into his back catalog, you'll find out that he was also involved in HBO's Carnival, which was a great show that was unfortunately canceled. And then back from there, I knew him from his time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where he was largely responsible for pretty much all the Klingon backstory and really fleshing out the Klingons as a race from where they were in Star Trek The Next Generation, um, as sort of, you know, another series of character races for the Federation to have conflicts with. So I was familiar with Ron, especially from Battlestar Galactica. So that's what turned me on to. And by the way, I don't consider Helix. A lot of people are like, he was involved in Helix. He was involved in the idea of Helix, but he was not a showrunner on that show. And there's a reason why that show was canceled after 2 seasons because it was just first season was good, second season was really really bad. Anyway, Battlestar Galactica was why I was like, oh, Ronald D. Moore is executive producing this and putting it all together, so I will go ahead and give it the benefit of the doubt. And I have to say, I was pleasantly blown away by the first season, which I watched through twice and then got Chris involved with. I was like, you got to watch this show, you're going to love it. And she did, and we have since watched it every year when it's come out. This past year being the exception because we didn't watch it when it came out because of we went to the States, came back, we got back beginning of January, and then just COVID hit, and so priorities being what they were, there was March, April, May was just dealing with the world changing, um, and then by the time we got around to the end of summer, early fall, there was already all of these other shows that we needed to catch up on and watch, and things of that nature. So Outlander got pushed back to the back burner until this weekend, so we're caught up now. I'm really looking forward to the continuation of that show. So it felt good this weekend to sit back and enjoy a nice Scottish whiskey while watching a show that's all about Scotland, filmed in Scotland, using Scottish actors. I don't know, it was just a good Scottish background. And I do have some Scottish background, not a lot, some. The my primary genealogy, is that how you would say that, is Norse in nature. Finnish. I have a lot of Finnish in me, a little bit of Italian, a little bit of German, and a little bit of Scottish, but it's primarily Finnish, which is why I have the pale complexion, blue eyes, blonde. Well, I guess these days it's all gray. Um, but yeah, be that as it may. Anyway, back to Monday Musings. Making progress on the new science fiction novel that I'm working on. Um, the aforementioned secret project that I'm going to be working on over on Patreon. I'm probably going to be teasing that on Patreon. If I don't tease it next week, it'll be the following week. But I should be putting something together here in towards the end of January to kind of give people a little bit of a preview as to what I'm going to be working on there. That is a new project. I don't anticipate it to be out this year. Um, at the earliest, it would be the end of this year, but I really don't think it's going to be ready. But it's something that I'm going to be working on in my spare time on the weekends. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. It is without giving too much away, because I want to save that for the subscribers. It is a brand new intellectual property, and it's a brand new project, which doesn't have anything to do with anything I've worked on up until this point. And that's going to be exclusive to Patreon. So you'll want to make sure you get signed up over there. It doesn't have anything to do with, like I said, it has nothing to do with any of the things I've worked on to date. It's something brand new. I'm also working on, what else can I talk about? I'm trying to think here. I can't talk about that yet, so we'll save that stuff for later. In terms of the day-to-day stuff, I'm still playing lots of Lord of the Rings online. I've kind of took a bit of a breather. I played pretty heavily from I think mid-September all through October, November, and December. It took me about 3 months, but I took my lore master all the way up to Moria. And then after Christmas, I came back and I've done 2 sessions in Moria, and I'm going to be doing a third session sometime this week. Um, but I'm not playing every single day like I was leading up to the holidays, because I'm doing other stuff right now, so that's taking up some more of my free time. Um, but I will be continuing the adventures in Lord of the Rings Online for the foreseeable future. The Lord of the Rings Online Lotro Cooking in Real Life series is definitely going to be a mainstay. I might not do them every week moving forward in 2021. It might only be every 2 weeks. Um, but it honestly just depends on the schedule that Chris and I have and how often we go grocery shopping and things of that nature, because she's also filming her own show doing Mexican recipes over on her own Patreon, which is patreon.com/Christmas Kitchen. If you guys want links to that, I'll put them in the YouTube description below. If you like Mexican food, then um, that's where you're going to want to go, because she's doing that stuff. I'm helping her film all those episodes as well. And she cooks 4 or 5 times a week. So I'm doing a lot of photography and videography for her. Um, and then we're also, like I said, we took Marginal Boundaries, which is our old travel brand, and we've brought that back on a hobby basis. We'll be doing some more videos. I think I'm going to be doing one this week as well for that channel. Meanwhile, this week, I'm kind of like the rest of the world. I'm waiting with bated breath to see what's going to happen on Wednesday, um, to see whether or not there's actually going to be a peaceful transition of power, or whether or not it's going to be more chaos at the Capitol. We'll see. Um, haven't. It's hard to know what's going to happen. Um, it is still winter technically here in Mexico City, although the weather it's been getting up into the mid 70s during the daytime. Um, I actually haven't used the heater for the last 3 nights. It's enough to just when I get up in the morning throw an extra my shawl. It's actually my wife's, but I steal it in the morning. She has a blue one that she uses as well, so it's like, you know what? You have two. I'll borrow yours. Um, and my bed beard, which I don't know if I'll keep growing it or not. I asked if I could cut it off the other day, and my wife was like, "No, you need to grow it out like Gandalf." So we'll see if I think the last time I trimmed it was September. Um, and for the past few years, I've just always like once a month. I think I'm like the number four trimmer, just you know, trimmed it down, which is something like I don't know, like half an inch long or something like that, 3/4 of an inch long. I think the last time I trimmed it was end of August, because I cut all my hair off in I can't remember what day it was, like September 6th or 7th, something like that. Sometime in early September, I cut all my hair off, and that was I think the last time I cut all my hair off and trimmed the beard at the same day. And then I've since let it all just grow. Um, I have that awkward hair stage, which I think I did a video last week without a hat or anything like that. And I'm at that awkward hair stage where it's just, yeah, it's better just to wear a hat or something because it looks crazy. Um, but I just, after all those years, I've had long hair most of my life. I've cut it off twice. So I think I cut it off in my mid 20. No, I cut it off in 2002, and then I cut it off again in like 2008, and then started growing it out again after because for a long time, from like 2009, 10, and 11, I kept it short, like clippers once a week, bzz, no guard, just kept it pretty much shaved. And then I met Chris, and she had me start growing out my hair. I want to say in like 2013, I started growing out my hair. And then I just grew it out from 2013 all the way up until I cut it off this year. So a good 7 year. It's been about like that. It's like every 7 years, I grow it out over the course of like 7 years, and then I cut it off and keep it cut for a year or two, and then I grow it out for 7 years, and then I cut it off again. And we'll see if I do it again. Getting older, it's gotten thin on top, so I don't know if I can pull it off again, unless I go for the old man with 5 strands of hairs pulled back. I might do that. You never know. When you start getting older, you start giving less of a shit, I should say, about your appearance, and you start focusing on other things in life. Which I love watching Ian McKellen age because he's the perfect example of that. Because he still likes his scarves and stuff, but you can see as he's gotten older, he's giving less of he has less shits to give, and he's still a great guy and everything else, but his hair is always just like tufts of hair everywhere, and it's amusing to watch that. And I totally relate because as I've gotten older, it's like, man, there are more important things to worry about than, you know, hair conditioner and hair products. And people have asked, why is my hand wrapped? I'm not damaged. I don't have any. I haven't cut myself or anything like that. I have extreme tendonitis in my joints and wrist in this part, in the ring finger and the pinky finger down here. This is from, so for those of you who don't know, I grew up as a third generation ceramic tile and natural stone contractor. And so I spent many, many years from the time I was like 7 years old on job sites all the way up until I was 28, 27, 27. So 20 years I worked in that industry. And just the repetitive nature of that, one of the things you have to do in terms of cleaning floors, and it's called grouting when you're the aspect of grouting. And to clean when you're grouting, it's lots of wringing out sponges. And that combined with playing MMORPGs, where I constantly used to use my pinky finger to hit the control button. Anyway, overuse of these two digits for 20 years led to um, extreme tendonitis, chronic tendonitis. And when I quit working construction, it kind of went away, but it flares up when I do lots of writing, which is why I tend to do most of my production work with microphone using dictation software. But occasionally I forget because I'll be writing a chapter and I'll get into the flow of something and I'll forget that I have a bad hand. And instead of only doing, 1,500 or 2,000 words for the day, I'll pound out like 6,000 words. And when I do that, it basically renders my hand. It makes it to where it just hurts really really bad for like the next 4 or 5 days. Um, and if I don't wrap it, I will continue to use these fingers without even thinking about it because I'll sit at the computer and I'll just start typing and I'll just forget about it. So I have to wrap it to keep myself from using those two fingers. So basically, I mean, they're still there, but I can't really move them. So I basically I immobilize those two fingers for a few days. And lately, because I'm working on a new book, um, I haven't needed to wrap the hand for about a week now, but I'm still wrapping it anyway so that I don't accidentally forget that I have that problem and just lose myself writing a chapter and suddenly go, I can't work for the next few days. Um, there's something about dictation software. I like using dictation software for emails. I like using it for a lot of stuff. I'm not a big fan of using it when I work on um, anything other than the rough draft of a story because it's a personal thing. Kevin J. Anderson has talked about this because he only uses dictation software and then has somebody transcribe things. Um, but there's a disconnect when I'm working on writing a story if I'm doing it via dictation software most of the time. Sometimes there are exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, I really prefer to just type and write. But I do have limitations, just given my past history. Everybody's got limitations. Everybody's got issues and things. I don't want to call it a handicap. It's not a handicap, but it is a limitation. Everybody's got them, whether it's, they wear glasses or they've got, bad knees, they've got arthritis, they've got, as you get older, it's just one of those things. I'm 41 now, and things start to wear out. Anyway, Monday Musings, a show where I talk about everything and nothing. So, moving from here, I'm going to be going straight to working on finishing up the latest chapter in the new book. So, hopefully, everybody will stick around for that. I'm really hoping that I'll have it wrapped up by end of March. I think is the deadline for the rough draft is end of March. I basically gave myself 3 months to work on it. So I've got January, February, and March. And if I do like 30,000 words a month, that gives me a 90,000 word. It'll probably end up being a little bit more than that, but we'll see. But I was like, I'll give myself 3 months to do the rough draft, and um, then we'll go from there. Um, I've debated, I haven't written short stories since 2008 and 2009. There's a part of me that has debated doing short stories for the rest of the year as well, just as an exercise and send those out there for publication. But I don't know. We'll see where I'm at. It's very easy to write the Donovan short stories, and I've gotten a few other ideas for short stories over the last couple of weeks. So I may end up doing short stories like April, May, June, and just see how many I can crank out over a 3 month period, and then go into the next novel. But I'm not sure yet. We'll see. We'll see how that all pans out. Schedules can change, things can change. You never know. Life can throw some unexpected things at you, and you end up doing things you didn't expect to do in the first place. So anyway, um, we're like 25 minutes in, so I think we'll go ahead and call it a wrap on today's version, I should say, of Monday Musings. My coffee is almost gone, so I need to go get another cup of coffee, and then I'm gonna go dive into the book and get the latest chapter written. If you haven't already done so, and you don't mind listening to the occasional ramblings of my mind on a Monday morning. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you get updates when the next videos are available, whatever those might be. Like I said, we're doing the Lotro Cooking in Real Life series. We're doing Lotro videos. We're doing read-throughs of the Saga of Lucimi. We're doing read-throughs of Bloody Knuckles. We're doing other RPGs and other stuff. Between here and Patreon, there's a lot going on. Um, and I am, if between here and there, I'm doing something every single day. Um, so hopefully you tune in at one of those places, subscribe to one of these places, and we will see you in whatever episode is the next one that we see you in. So until then, let's all try to have a good 2021, and let's hope that Wednesday is not a crazy. Let's hope that the transfer of power goes peacefully, and let's hope that we can get towards putting all this craziness of COVID and political distractions behind us and get to healing the world throughout the rest of 2021 and beyond. I'm really looking forward to the vaccinations being completed because I would love to get back to traveling. My wife and I have got itchy feet. Um, Fingers crossed. All right, stick around, everybody. See you soon.